Well, here we are at Eloise Butler Wildflower Garden in Minneapolis, which is a great spot, one of the best in North America, for viewing just the general wildflowers of the eastern woodland region, and both prairie flowers and all the way down to bog flowers and then woodland flowers as well. And I've used this spot to teach for 25 years at least, and I learned botany from old Dr. Ed Lawrence here myself 30 years ago. 34 years ago, so it's been a long time. And here we have a chance to see the plants live in their glory and to look at the signatures. And the Doctrine of Signatures is one of the leading methods that I use for determining what a plant is for. It appeals to our imagination. It's a lyrical side of the plant, that just kind of suggestive illusion, alluding to subtly to different images, to different affinities. And if a structure is similar, we find a structure in the plant that's similar to the body, we can fairly much count on the fact that nature does not just throw up structures and colors haphazardly, but has a purpose in mind. And very often when two structures look alike, they have some sort of similar function in nature. And nature is, we might say, very economical, wastes nothing. And structures don't just appear and disappear for the hell of it. Nature doesn't just turn something red or green or black or white or purple. It does so to survive in the ruthless crucible of evolution, always dominating nature there. So everything in nature has a shape and a function, and they are related, those two elements. And the Doctrine of Signatures, therefore, is not a laughing matter, as our scientists would have us believe, but a matter for deep study and learning about the affinities and the origins and the deep, profound affinities of plants with other processes, with physiological processes, with the physiological processes of the human body. It amazes me again and again and again. I used to look at things like that. Oh, that's too ridiculous. That's too literal a resemblance between the organ and the plant part. And it's like I've since learned that almost all those too literal resemblances really work well. All ways of looking at plants and understanding them that have some sort of system to them that can be applied from plant to plant or family to family have value in helping us in that way. And one of the most powerful and important is the doctrine of taste, that how the plant tastes shows its affinities. And indeed, sour plants usually are high in bioflavonoids. They're often fruity. They might be high also in the cyanogenic glycosides, all of which are cooling. So in the summertime we want acids, we want lemonade, lime, and those plants are cooling. And bitter plants get secretion going. Therefore, they build the appetite, they control the appetite, they can kind of normalize through the appetite centers, through the digestive tract. Too much, too little, they kind of bring to the middle. Bitters are valuable in that way. Plants sometimes look like animals, and therefore we know that they have affinities for certain functions that are personified in animals, and that's called American Indian teacher Karen Sanders taught me about that, and she taught me that that's called a spirit signature, because those signatures are even more profound and powerful when the plant looks like an animal, or when an animal takes an interest in a plant and uses it for feeding, or like even they'll use it for very specific kind of hormonal shifts and things like that. And those are always signs that we should pay attention to that plant and use it ourselves. So we have elk medicines. They have antler-like shapes. Deer medicines, fine, delicate, perfumey type of, kind of closely related to elk medicines. We have bear medicines, which are the brown, furry, oily roots, which there's quite a few of, half a dozen at least, like angelica and burdock counts there. the furs in the seed pod, and osha root and spikenard, quite a few herbs like that. This is Boneset or Eupatorium perfoliatum, like the leaf is, the folium is perforated. Sometimes they break open like that. So it's kind of like its cousin cup plant. And that is a signature. First they go back and forth at a periodic rate there. That's a signature for periodic fevers or influenza and malaria, for which it is greatly used still. It's a very beneficial remedy for chilly, achy, ache bone type fevers in the North Country here. It's also used for dengue and yellow fever in the south. It's also used for setting bones, the signature being the way the leaf wraps around the stalk. And also, I don't want to pick this nice one, but you could just snap the plant off very easily. It snaps like a broken bone. Also, it's got the bone white flower, all of which is at least a memory device and perhaps a signal from God and Mother Nature that this is a great remedy for setting bones. Some know-it-all professor in the 19th century said, oh, it's not used for setting bones despite the name. It's really just used for these fevers with the ache and chill and the aching in the bones. I don't know how he knew that, by going around talking to everybody maybe, but it's used by various Indian tribes. I was up north speaking at White Earth Reservation, and they had a picture of the boneset and it looked about just like this, and they had the name Eupatorium perfoliatum. Then they had the name Boneset. Then they had the Indian name, the Ojibwe, Anishinaabe Ojibwe name. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, bone to repair. I was like, yeah, sure, it's not for setting bones. Whoever's made that up. It's excellent for setting bones. I've used it again and again and again. It has the intelligence to set bones. When bones are out of place, it'll get them in the right place. When they're all fractured and broken up, it'll get the right seams together, because bones extrude chemicals that want to attract other bones that are broken, the other part of the bone, back together again, like true love. They put out those chemicals. Oh, I want you back. And so they go and they get refitted again. And also it works with the osteoblasts. It stimulates the osteoblasts probably from our observations of it, because it really helps solidify and grow the bone quickly from the deep innards of the bone outward. In fact, we see the classic example over here. If you can catch the camera on it there, the black seed pods of Baptisia or wild indigo, and when they ripen, they turn black. Also, when that plant is injured, the leaves will just turn black. And that's always a signature that you have a plant that's good for putrescence, necrosis, deep damage to the just rotting of flesh and tissue. Well, here we have one of my favorite, very useful plants. That is red root, or New Jersey tea, or sometimes called red shank. And the root is kind of a beige. Well, the root forms kind of a S as you dig it up underground, and there's little nodules all around it that are like little glands all around it. So it looks kind of like an intestine with glands, and that's a excellent signature for it. It's very good helping both digestion, or rather assimilation and uptake of food from the digestive tract, and the lymphatics. And it's an excellent lymphatic remedy. Generally, you can count on it to act on lymphatics, I'd say. It's neutral with regard to hot or cold, probably. At least I would say so. It's pretty close to the middle, so you don't insult the body by giving something too hot or too cold. You might want to reinforce it with another herb. It goes well in mixtures, I should say, and I'm not a great compounder, but it's an ideal remedy for compounding because it's so neutral like that. So you'd give something hotter or colder to heat or to sedate. But it's an excellent, excellent remedy for the lymphatic system. Here we have one of my favorite medicinal herbs, yellow dock root, also called curly dock. You can see why it's called curly dock. And its Latin name is Rumex crispus. This is mid-August. It's well past flowering and formed its brown, rusty colored seeds. And it's red stalk there, signatures for the blood. This burgundy color, almost always when you get a burgundy like this, it's a little redder than that, but this is a little more brown. They're almost both burgundy. It's a signature for blood building, like the Chinese herb Romania root or beet juice, yellow dock. It's not that it's high in iron, but it helps with assimilation of iron and handling iron, and it helps with the ferritin in the liver, according to Michael Moore. Well, here we have one of my very favorite medicinal herbs, that is sumac. And sumac is found several different kinds all through North America. This is Staghorn sumac because it has the fuzzy branches. It looks kind of like the antlers of a buck in the velvet stage. And almost all of them, though, have antler-like qualities to them. And then the Indians used it as an elk medicine, deer medicine. It grows where the deer like to be, that is at the edge of the pasture where the woods is growing back in to the field. So it's generally the elk medicines are kidney medicines. And this is a great remedy to stop outflow of water.